So are you dealing with a completely demotivated teenager who is looking like you would need help getting them out of bed in the morning? You need some, long motivational speech to get them to go to school, to get them to do their work, to get them to do anything that is important to their life. Well, you're not alone, because I've got an email from a parent who has asked for help. And so in this video, I'm going to read the message, and I'm sure you're going to see some things in that message that would be familiar to you. And also, I'm going to give you 3 tools that would help you help that young person out of that situation. Also, I'm going to link in the description a pack that I have prepared, a 14 days pack, that if you download that, you can follow, and free, by the way, it's free, where you check out things for 14 days that would help you to get that young person to a place where they would start, finding motivation again and doing the things that are important to their life. And so I'd encourage you to stay till the end, because there's a lot in here that we're going to be talking about. Also, every week we upload practical, tried and tested tips and tools that would make your parenting experience, and not just parenting, if you're someone who works with young people, where you get practical things that you would apply to your work with young people that would make a huge difference. So please follow and subscribe. Also, I'll encourage you to like and share, so you can help the algorithm to push this thing to people who might really need it. So here's the message from the parent, and it's a bit of a long one, but I'll just read it because it will sound familiar to a lot of people. So, I'm not even sure where to start, but I know I need help. I'm a parent of a 15-year-old son, and over the past year, I feel like I've slowly been losing him. Not physically, he's still at home, but emotionally, mentally, and in terms of direction. He used to be curious, funny, and full of ideas. Now it feels like everything is a struggle. That sounds like being a teenager or going through that change. Getting him out of bed in the morning is a battle. School has become a constant source of tension. He either drags himself there late or tries to avoid it altogether. His teachers say he has potential, but he's not engaging, not completing work, and seems completely switched off. At home, he spends most of his time on his phone or gaming. When I try to talk to him about his future, his goals, or even just his day, he get one-word answers or silence. Yes, no, things like that. What worries me most is not just the lack of motivation, but the lack of belief. He says things like, "What's the point?" or "It won't work anyway." That's not something I ever used to hear from him. It feels like he's already given up before even trying. And I don't know how to reach him anymore. I've tried different approaches, being strict, being supportive, giving space, setting boundaries, but nothing seems to stick. When I push, he shuts down. When I step back, he drifts further away. It feels like I'm constantly guessing and getting it wrong. There are also moments when I catch glimpse of the old him, when he's laughing with friends or talking about things he enjoys. But those moments are becoming rare. I don't think he's a bad kid. I think he's stuck, overwhelmed, or maybe just lost. But I don't know how to help him find his way back. As a parent, it's heartbreaking. You want to fix things, to guide them, to protect them. But I'm starting to realize I can't do this alone. I don't want to wait until things get worse before taking action. I'm reaching out because I need practical guidance. I need to understand what might be going on beneath the surface, and what I can actually do day to day to support him without pushing him further away. I'm also open to him working directly with a mentor if that's appropriate, because I feel like sometimes he might respond better to someone outside the family. More than anything, I just want my son to feel motivated again, to believe in himself, and to see that his future is worth working towards. If you can help, I would genuinely appreciate it. Thank you for taking your time to read this message. Now, I wish I could promise that this is something you would just, switch and flip a few switches and things would change. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And I speak as someone who works with a lot of young people with similar situations. These things take time. And one thing else I would like to point out at this point is being a teenager is a very difficult state of mind. There are a lot of things happening, physical changes, that some of which a good number of them might not really understand. There are demands by the brain because it needs to develop certain aspects that puts certain pressure on young people. And the current situation of social media and all these other things has made it a lot more difficult for them. So they are going through very difficult times. So some of these things are actually parts and parcel of that transition that they are going through. But I think there are a few challenges, some of the things you've identified. If he's withdrawing to a point where he just gives one word answers, disengaging with the usual things he should engage with, then there are a few things that we might be able to do to help them. But the first place I'd like to start from is sometimes when parents say their kids or their young people are demotivated or not motivated, what they might be saying is, my teenager is not doing what I want them to do. Now, that's not what we're here to fix, because that attempt to make them do only what you want them to do is in itself a problem, because naturally most teenagers tend to resist that feeling of control. And so you need to step back a bit to ask yourself, first of all, what am I trying to achieve here? Am I trying to help this young person to achieve their dreams, to do things that they want to do? Or am I trying to help them achieve some of my dreams that I failed in achieving? So once that's out of the way, then we might be able to help the young person. And so there are several reasons and several things that might be responsible for this behavior. And I'm not going to rule out the fact that there might be some underlying issues that would require more professional help in terms of psychological help and need. But if we assume that this is just a young person who has missed a few steps here and there, or who has missed a few support systems here and there, and is kind of reacting to that situation by trying to communicate something, then we might be able to help them. And I think 7 times out of 10, that's what the situation is. It's a young person who has gone through some challenges, or who is going through some challenges, who is experiencing some things, and feels that the adults in their life do not really understand, and there's no point anyway trying to express it. And that comes from years and several interactions where parents or responsible adults may have communicated in a wrong way, or may have communicated things that maybe they do not mean, but that's what landed in the minds of these young people. Something else that might be responsible for the problem is you need to look at their social media life. It's been scientifically proven, tested and proven, that spending too much time on social media, going to bed late, and too much time on their phones places some stress on them, because when they don't get enough rest, it affects their calmness and their stability. So that might be something you want to look out for. Could it be that they don't go to bed on time and they spend long nights on phone, having chats and all of these things? That's one. Also, related to the social media thing, they might be interacting with some content that is actually doing their head in and causing all sorts of problems to them. So you want to examine all of that and make sure all of those things are out of the way. And so once we get all of those things out of the way, the first thing I would like you to do, and this always works, is to start with connection before you start thinking of correction or fixing. You need to create that psychological safety so that this young person sees you as a partner in whatever they're going through. And I understand that a lot of parents struggle with daily needs and trying to meet all of these things. But this is not too much engagement, what we're talking about. We're talking about spending time. So if, for instance, you're a mom or a dad or whoever, you're cooking, getting them involved in that cooking process and having a chat in the process might be all it takes. Having a walk, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, having a walk, and just having a chat about things. And one thing you must resist in all of those time you spend with them is that temptation to be a dad, to be a mom, to be a coach, to be maybe a coach, to be a commander, to give instructions and to give advice. You must resist that every time to start with. And I know it's a very difficult thing, because if they say something that is clearly wrong, there's that natural instinct in you to want to go, no, this is how you should do it. But you must resist that, because the essence of this time you want to spend with them is to get to create that bond with them. So you listen mostly to learn from them. You can ask prompting questions like, how did your day go? What's happening now? What are you thinking about? So get interested in what they are doing. And so spend some time trying to understand that. And again, like I said, I'm going to link that pack that will take you through 14 days of activities and things you can do with your young person. And that would give you that step-by-step process to help you develop this relationship. So that's the first thing. Create that connection with your young person. That gives them that psychological safety where they can begin to trust you and begin to start engaging with you, talking to you, and understanding that you're there to share whatever burden they might be going through. That, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, always works. Number 2, start small. This might sound very easy, but you need to start easing into the process of returning them to that place of motivation. Maybe a good place to start from is to let them start with things that they want to do. Now, some of those things might not be relevant to where you want to take them to. They might say they just want to go and watch football or something. And you might be there thinking, Mr. Man, what I want you to do is to do your homework or to study some maths for 30 minutes. Now, that's fine. You're going to get there. But the start point is maybe you ease in with things that they want to do, and then you spend that time helping them to do it. And this traces back to a very basic law of physics, the law of inertia, right? Where it says everything would like to continue in its state of motion, in a state of uniform motion in a straight line, or in a state of rest until it's acted upon by a force. And what that's simply saying is action has a way of creating momentum. And not just action, results also has a way of creating motivation. So if a perfect example of what I've just said is, if this body or this thing is here, it will remain here until it's acted upon by a force. Another very good example is if you're on a train or a car that is moving. When the car stops, the reason why you keep going forward is your body wants to continue in that state of uniform motion until it is acted upon by a force. So there's that inertia that needs to be broken step by step. And so you ease in carefully with easy things they like to do, and then you take that into small chunks of the things you want them to do. So get to a point where if what you really need them to do is start doing their homework, you could set a timer and say, what we're going to be doing is spend 5 minutes, nothing more, 5 minutes on that homework. And once it's 5 minutes, don't feel guilty, just drop it and go. Tomorrow you come back again, another 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Then at some points you push it to 10 minutes, and then you keep going. The professional term for that is behavioral activation. What you're doing is you're activating that behavior and then pushing it step by step until that young person picks it up and runs with it. Now, the third thing is give them back control of those things you've built. Remember, you've come from a place of building psychological safety. You've activated behavior, and now you're at a point where you want to give them back control, because that's the first step towards automating whatever they need to be doing. And so you start with things like, so what would you like to do first? Work or fun? If your young person is like a lot of the young people I've worked with, they'll say fun, but that's fine. You then follow up to say, okay, we're going to do fun for how long? They will tell you how long they want to do it, and when are we going to do this? And then, so you give them control, and that sense of them being in control has a way of giving them the opportunity to keep going. Remember, now you have action, you have results, momentum, and motivation begins to set in gradually as they take control of the actions and of the things they do. Now, these 3 steps almost always work. But in that pack I've talked about, there's more than these 3 steps. There's a 14-day step that you would follow to help your young person out of that situation that they're in. But go on, give it a try and let me know what you think. Again, please don't forget to hit the subscribe and follow button because you do not want to miss the practical, easy to apply tips that we upload every week. And also, why not support what we do by just hitting the like and share button so you can help it get to other people that might need it. Thanks for now, and I'll see you again soon.